Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'd like to do is show you how to graph y equals x squared plus 5x minus 2 while it's in standard form to convert it into vertex form. So to go ahead and do that, what we need to do is learn how to complete the square. Okay, so the basic idea of completing the square is pretty much taking this trinomial and representing it with a binomial squared. You can see this x minus h squared because once we have these h and the k's, that's going to tell us our vertex, which opens up tons of doors for us. All right, so to complete the square, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure a is 1, which in this case we can see a is 1. The next thing we want to do is take b divided by 2 and square it. So you can see b in this case is 5, which doesn't look like that much fun. So take y equals, what am I doing? B divided by 2 squared. So 5 divided by 2, square it, which equals 25 over 4. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that to be my new constant. And then what I'm going to do is, since I'm adding it on the right side, I have to add it on the left side, right? When you're solving for equations, add on one side, add it on the right side, or left side, right side. But in this case, since I want to always keep y by itself, I'm going to add and subtract on the same side. So therefore, I have a new equation that looks like this. Y equals x squared plus 5x plus 25 over 4 minus 2. And again, right, as I said, since you add it, we also have to subtract it. OK, so why did we do this? Well, the reason why we take b divided by 2 and square it is that produces a perfect square trinomial. And we like perfect square trinomials. X squared plus 6x plus 9. That's a perfect square trinomial. Why is it a perfect square trinomial? Because I can factor it into x plus 3 times x plus 3, which is x plus 3 squared. Perfect square trinomial, binomial squared. So what we did is, by doing b divided by 2, we created a perfect square trinomial. But I bet this is a lot easier to factor than that is to factor. So therefore, what we can do is just do x plus or minus b divided by 2 squared. So depending on whatever your b over 2 is, if it's positive, then it's positive. If it's negative, it's negative. But that is going to be your perfect square. So remember what my b over 2 was? That was that was 5 over 2. So therefore, all I need to do to write this as a binomial squared is just do x plus 5 over 2 squared. Now I do need to combine these two. So I do need to get these to be common denominators. So remember, that's 1 over 1, so I'll multiply by 2 over 2. So that becomes a negative 4 minus 25, so that's a negative 29. What am I doing? That's 4. Multiply by 4 over 4, right? So that's a negative 8. So negative 8 minus 25 is going to be a negative 33 over 4. OK, so now what we need to do is, now we have it in this format, we can now graph this. Well, we know that the vertex is now negative 5/2 comma negative 33 over 4. Now, for those of you that like fractions, that's fine. If you want to convert it to fractions, that's perfectly fine. I understand, especially when graphing it, I think using fractions or using decimals is a little bit easier. So this would be 2.5, negative 2.5. 4 goes into 32 8 times with 1 remainder. So that'd be a negative 8.25. And you can also, check that with your calculator, do whatever else. But I like to continue fractions all the way to the end, I guess, until I'm doing the graphing part. So now to graph this, I go over negative 2.5, 1, 2, 3. So negative 2.5, and then down 8.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So negative 2.5, negative 8.25. OK, so there's my vertex, right? Negative 2.5 comma negative 8.25. Now I need to determine, does the graph open up or does the graph open down? So I look again at my a, and since my a is greater than 1, because it's 1, or I'm sorry, a is greater than 0, right, because a is positive, I know my graph is going to be opening up. Since my a is equal to 1, I know that the version, remember the standard form of equation, over 1, up 1, left 1, up 1. Over 2, up 4, left 2, up 4. So that process of the standard graph is going to be the same for this equation. So I'm just going to go over 1, up 1, left 1, up 1. And I could do over 2, up 4, left 2, up 4. And I'm going to get a graph that's going to resemble something like this, where you can figure out the rest of the values by using a graph or a table. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you graph a quadratic function using completing the square. Thanks.